Throughout the Lion Guard, we see Kion grow from a headstrong cub into a future leader. But while his destiny leads him to the Tree of Life and ultimately to Queen Rani, many fans have wondered, was that the only path he could have taken? What if Kion had followed his heart in a different direction? What if he chose Fuli? It sounds like fan fiction, but this theory might be deeper than you think. And if this already made you see Kion and Fuli in a whole new light, share this video with a fellow Lion Guard fan. Let's see how many believe in this alternate path. Fuli isn't just a teammate. From the very first episode, she stands by Kion's side. She challenges him, balances him, and maybe even understands him better than anyone else. Their bond is built on years of trust, danger, and growth. Not to mention, they're practically inseparable for most of the series. Where others hesitated to follow Kion, Fuli never did, even when the future of the Pride Lands hung in the balance. When Kion began to lose control, when the scar clouded his judgment and the roar became unpredictable, Fuli didn't flinch. She stayed close. She challenged him, yes, but always with care. She was never afraid of his darkness, and maybe, just maybe, she was the light that kept it from consuming him. And let's not forget, Fuli was there long before the Tree of Life was even mentioned. If you're still watching, drop it in the comments to let us know you're one of the true fans, the ones who catch the moments others miss. Because when you look at how Fuli stood beside Kion, not out of duty, but because she believed in him, you start to see it. That loyalty? It wasn't just earned, it was built day by day, in every battle, every glance, and every shared silence. That's not just loyalty, that's something deeper. But what about Fuli herself? Maybe there were feelings she never dared express. Not because she didn't feel them, but because she feared what they might change. The dynamic of the Guard, Kion's role as leader, or even the circle of life itself. Being strong doesn't mean you're fearless. And for someone as fast and fierce as Fuli, the idea of slowing down long enough to feel might have been the scariest thing of all. Maybe she looked at Kion the same way he looked at her. Maybe she waited for him to see it first. Or maybe she thought he never would. But maybe there was always more going on inside Kion than we realized. And if you think this theory couldn't get any deeper, think again. Because the next part might just flip everything you thought you knew about Kion's heart. Throughout his journey, he faces a battle, not just between two paths, but between two sides of himself. Fuli represents freedom, fire, and familiarity. Rani represents duty, healing, and the unknown. Was Kion torn between his heart and the path expected of him? There may even have been moments, quiet ones, when he looked at Fuli not just as a teammate, but as something more. Did he ever wonder, what if? And if he did, what held him back? Was it fear, loyalty, or a belief that love must follow tradition? Rani, on the other hand, enters late in Kion's journey. Their bond is forged quickly in the middle of urgency and loss. Her kingdom needs a leader. Kion needs healing, and the two find connection and responsibility. But is that love or shared pressure? Where Fuli represents freedom and fire, Rani represents duty and legacy. Fuli is instinct, movement, and the untamed spirit of the savannah. Rani is tradition, calm, and the weight of a kingdom on her shoulders. One pushes Kion to listen to his heart, the other reminds him of the legacy he must carry. Both are powerful, but only one grew with Kion from the start. And even beyond their chemistry, Fuli challenges the idea of what a royal partner should look like. She's fast, fiercely independent, and not afraid to speak truth to power, even to Kion. That's not just rare. That's real. Now let's explore the path not taken. Imagine, after healing at the Tree of Life, Kion returns to the Pride Land, not because he's retreating, but because he's realized where he truly belongs. He stands on Pride Rock, next to his family, his guard, and beside Fuli, not as friends, but as partners. They lead together, not through tradition, but through trust. But what about the kingdom itself? Would the Pride Lands accept a non-lion queen at Kion's side? Would the circle of life bend or break under a love that defies its oldest customs? Simba, raised to respect order and royal legacy, might hesitate. He may trust Fuli, even admire her. But deep down, would he worry about how the animals would respond? Would he see this as evolution or disruption? And what about Nala? She's known love that overcame boundaries. Maybe she'd be the quiet voice reminding them that leadership isn't about species, it's about soul. Together they'd be rewriting history, and not everyone would be ready for that. The circle of life expands to include new ideas, new voices. Fuli becomes the first non-lion queen, and while some doubt, many more are inspired. The Pride Lands thrive under their rule, not because it's easy, but because it's real. Built not on prophecy, but on partnership. And what about their dynamic as leaders? Imagine the balance. Kion's strength and patience, Fuli's speed and boldness. And if you think we've explored it all, hold on, because what comes next may just change how you see every moment they ever shared. But what about the rest of the Lion Guard? Would they have embraced this new dynamic, or felt left out by the shift in Kion and Fuli's bond? Beshte, ever the peacekeeper, might have supported it with a smile. Ono would analyze it logically. And Bunga? Well, he'd probably celebrate it loudly and without filter. Yet even in their cheer, there might be tension. When teammates become something more, the whole group feels it. Could it have changed the Guard forever? For better or for worse? A king and queen who don't rule from above, but lead from within. And now, the big question, was it ever even possible? Some say no, that the writers never intended anything more than friendship between Kion and Fuli. But look closer. The way he protects her, the way she looks at him, the near constant proximity, the way they fight as one. Is that just friendship? Or something unspoken? And let's not ignore the subtle cues, the glances that linger, the moments where the rest of the Guard falls away, and it's just the two of them. Those aren't just action sequences, they're moments of connection. And maybe, just maybe, there was a moment we never saw. A night under the stars, the Guard asleep, the world finally quiet. Kion and Fuli sit side by side, watching the constellations above the savannah. Neither says a word, but in the stillness, something lingers. A glance held a second too long, a breath shared, the kind of silence that doesn't ask questions because it already knows the answer. Maybe that was the moment everything could have changed, and maybe it almost did. Let's go deeper. Loving this kind of deep dive? Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss our next What If? That could change everything you thought you knew about the Pride Land. And hey, if you've made it this far, tell us in the comments, what moment between Kion and Fuli convinced you there was more? We know you have one. Kion and Rani's relationship happens fast. Some fans even say it feels arranged, a peaceful alliance wrapped in romance. But Kion and Fuli? That's years of development. That's a slow burn connection that doesn't need dramatic declarations to feel real. In fact, some of the most emotional moments in the series happen between Kion and Fuli, without a single word spoken. And let's not forget, Fuli is the only one who sees the worst of Kion and stayed. Now ask yourself, who really knows your heart? The one who meets you at your best? Or the one who stands beside you at your worst? But what if things had gone wrong? What if Rani had never existed, and Kion's growing scar, his self-doubt, and the Roar's instability had pushed him too far? Would Fuli still have stood by him? Would her loyalty have been enough to pull him back from the brink? And what about Rani? If she saw Kion and Fuli together, would she have stepped away with grace or felt betrayed? Her bond with Kion may have grown from duty, but that doesn't mean her feelings weren't real. Would she have seen their love as a spark of fate or a shadow of deception? Perhaps Rani knew deep down that a piece of Kion's heart had always been somewhere else, and maybe that truth would have hurt most of all. Or would she have been the one to stop him if no one else could? Maybe that's why their bond is so compelling, because it's not just romantic tension, it's trust, sacrifice, restraint. But even the strongest connection can become dangerous. When two hearts beat as one, they can rise together or fall together. Would their love have made them better rulers or blinded them to the needs of their kingdom? Could they have become so consumed by each other that they missed the warning signs around them? Sometimes love unites, but sometimes it isolates. And in the Pride Lands, even love comes with a cost. And in another timeline, maybe that's exactly what they became. Not just allies, but soulmates forged in chaos. And maybe that's what love really is. Not a crown, not a throne, not a title, but someone who walks beside you even when you've lost your way. Because in the end, love isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet, constant, and powerful enough to change the course of a kingdom. So what do you think? Would Kion and Fuli have made a stronger pair? Was Rani the safe choice or just the expected one? Pause the video right now and tell us below. Are you Team Fuli or Team Rani? We're reading the comment, and stick around, because who Kion chooses might not just change his heart, it could rewrite the fate of the Pride Land. Let us know in the comment, and if you love juicy Lion King theories like this, don't forget to like and subscribe for more wild what-ifs from the Pride Land. Because in another universe, maybe Kion and Fuli stood on Pride Rock together, not as guard and leader, but as king and queen. And maybe, just maybe, the roar of the Pride Land sounded different that day. And if you think this was wild, just wait. What if Kion left the Tree of Life for Fuli? That's a story for another day.